things. Now, let's go to the audio soundbites for a minute. Toya Graham, CBS This Morning. She's the mom who was seen smacking her son, who she found rioting in the street while watching the riots on TV. Gail King said, "Tell us when you first saw your son. Take us back to that moment, Toya. Relive it with us."
To see my son come across the street with a rock in his hand, I think at that point I just lost it. I actually went to view Freddie Gray's body, and if he wanted to do that, I would have allowed him to. But for him to do what he was doing, it was just unacceptable. He's just like the other teenagers that doesn't have the perfect relationship with the police officers in Baltimore City. But you will not be throwing rocks and stones at police officers. At some point, who's to say that they don't have to come and protect me from something? And they might not want to, knowing that you're bringing harm to them. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Now, remember, we're not talking white cops here, folks. We're not talking white police chief. We're not talking white mayor. We're not talking white power structure at all. And yet the complaints are the same. Well, she's not really complaining, but the observances, I mean, the aspect of the relationship, the police department to African-American families, we've always been told that's racist or racial. But here you have a predominantly black police force in Baltimore, and it sounds like the people that live there just as afraid of them as they are in Ferguson, where there's white cops. And there's some white cops in Baltimore, too, but the vast majority are black. The city population is 60% black. The Democrat Party tells us, though, that the problem is a criminal justice system which targets blacks and wants to incarcerate them way above the national average, as though people just be putting in jail for having done nothing. That argument, every time I hear this, and Hillary tried it today, Harry Reid tries it, they all trot it out. The incarceration, the percentage of black males in jail compared to whites in jail, that percentage alone is said to prove discrimination. And there's no acknowledgement. Well, what about the crimes that have been committed here? Did they happen or did they not? Were there convictions or were there not? Were there pleas or were there not? We're not supposed to ask that. All we're supposed to hear or comprehend is that there's a vastly greater percentage of African Americans in jail than there are whites, but you're not supposed to ask any more than that. So here we have a woman in Baltimore who sounds just as leery of the cops as an African American citizen in a predominantly white city. To me, the next soundbite, Charlie Rose said, does the love and the attention you're getting, so admiring of you and what you're doing, people understanding that the life of a single parent has to work and take care of children, a difficult life?
I'm not working at the moment. I just came from losing a job, but just coming into a brand new home. And so he sees me struggle. He sees the struggle that I'm going through. But my children, it's just me and my children. I mean, I don't go out. I don't, do any of that thing. Only thing I do is church, and it's me and my children.
We learned on this episode she has 6 kids, no husband, no job, trapped in Baltimore. That's been run by liberal Democrats forever. And can you imagine, I don't know, but can you imagine what this woman thought the night Barack Obama was elected? Can you imagine the kind of hope? Can you imagine the change that she and millions like her just knew was coming? Why, finally, after all these years, we're going to have an African American in the White House. Somebody, one of us. I'd understand it if they felt that way. Obama's candidacy was promoted that way. His future presidency was promoted that way. What must they think today? I'll tell you what they think. Somehow it's the Republicans' fault, if they think anything. Yep, somehow the Republicans are standing in the way of money, funding, whatever. And again, just a reminder, $22 million since 1965. Numbers come from Robert Rector at the Heritage Foundation. He is a scholar on this matter. 1965, U.S. taxpayers have spent over $22 trillion on anti-poverty programs. This includes the War on Poverty and the Great Society and all the food stamps and the welfare, you name it. $22 trillion. That is the result of taxes. There has been a transfer of $22 million to producers to non-producers. If there is ever a testament to something not working, this is it. 22 trillion. Did I say million? Well, even that would be outrageous. But it's trillion. It's 22 trillion. In the mid-90s, it was 5. That's how fast these transfer payments have increased, folks. Where do you think the national debt is? This is 3 times the amount of money spent on all the wars in this country. And I mention that because the left and the Democrats love to run around and say, we need to cut the defense budget. We got too many social problems in America. We spend way too much money on war and on weapons. No, God, we are the lion's share of the national debt is this stuff. And all it's done is purchased seats of power for the Democrat Party under false premise that they care and that they're going to lift people out of poverty once and forever. And all that's happening is the people in poverty are staying there if they vote Democrat, and more are being added as the Democrat Party obliterates the southern border.